which is define the term composite shape, apply the formulas for correctly finding the area of square, rectangle, triangles, and circle. Also calculating the total for each compound shape correctly. Calculate the area of composite shape by breaking them down into similar shapes, at least 3 to 4 of the problems correctly. So let's begin. So we're going to look at composite shape. What are composite shape? Composite shape can be defined as a shape created with 2 or more basic shapes. So let's move into some example of composite shape. We have a variety of example of composite shape. The first one we have is cylinder. It's made up of 2 semicircle and a rectangle. Now, can I have volunteers to list the rest shapes? Jamacy? Very good. The first shape is made up of 2 triangles and a rectangle. Can I have another volunteer for the second shape? Tahir?
The second shape is made up of 2 parallelograms.
Very good. The second shape is made up of 2 parallelograms. Can I have another volunteer for the last shape? Yes, Dontrell?
The last shape is made up of 2 rectangles and a square.
Very good. The last shape is made up of 2 rectangles and a square. So now we have more examples. We have real life examples. So we have, the first one we have is a tank and it stands and it's made up of a rectangle and a triangle. Then we have 2 buildings, which is made up of a pyramid and 2 cuboid. Also we have a bridge, which is made up of a semicircle and a triangle. So now let's go into formulas for shapes, for 4 types of shape. What we're going to look at is square. And the formula to find the area of the square is length times length. We have the rectangle, which is length times width. We also have the triangle, which is half base times height. We have different variety here of different triangles. And we have the circle, and the formula to find the area of the circle is pi r squared times pi r squared, right? And pi is known as 3.14 or 22/7, and r basically telling you the radius, which is here. Okay, students, so we have an example of a compound shape. So in this compound shape, we have 2 rectangles. We're going to name it shape A and shape B. So in order to find the total area of this compound shape, we add the area of the 2 rectangles. That will be the total area of the compound shape. So shape A is a rectangle. The formula is length times width. The length is 5 meters times 6 meters give us 30 meters squared. That's for shape A. So we're going to find the area for shape B, which is also a rectangle, which is length times width. The length is 9 meters times 4 meters the width, give you 36 meters squared. So the total area of this compound shape, we add the 2 areas together, which is 30 meters squared plus 36 meters squared equal to 66 meters squared. So the total area of this compound shape is 66 meters squared. So students, we have learned today that what is compound shape, the area for rectangle, square, triangle, and circle, and also we have to solve a problem related in compound shape, and how to find the total area of this compound shape. So I hope you guys have learned as much as possible. Good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, Miss.
So today's lesson will begin by watching a quick video.
Hey there! Today, we will be learning about composite shapes. Did you know that some shapes are made by combining other basic shapes? For example, this L shape is made out of a rectangle and a square. Isn't that cool? Let's find out more about composite shapes by checking out the house our friend Carl built. Do you notice that this house is actually a composite shape? Because it's made out of 2 basic shapes, a triangle and a rectangle. Interesting, isn't it? Time for a challenge. Let's see if you can identify the basic shapes that make up these composite shapes. Can you guess what this shape is made out of? If you look closely, this shape is made out of 2 rectangles. How about this next shape?
What you guys think?
This shape is made up of one square and two triangles.
Very good.
Let's move on to this shape. I bet you got this one. One triangle and two rectangles. Lastly, can you guess the answer to this shape?
Let's see.
That's right. This shape is made up of four triangles and a circle. Well done! You now know how to identify composite shapes. See you in the next video. For more, visit bottle.
Alright, from this video we have learned what is composite shape and to identify composite shape. So, what is composite shape? Who can tell me? Yes, Daniel?
Yes, composite shapes are shapes that are made of one shape.
Very good. More than one shapes, more shapes. Yes, Josiah?
Composite shapes are one.
Very good. Very good. Okay, students, let's look at the second video.
Welcome to Math with Mr. J. In this video, I'm going to cover how to find the area of rectangles, squares, triangles, and circles. Now remember, area is the amount of surface something covers, a shape covers. We're going to start with rectangles, move to squares, then triangles, and end with circles. Let's jump into rectangles. Starting with number 1, where we need to find the area of the rectangle. For finding the area of a rectangle, we can use the formula area equals length times width. I used a cursive L for length so it doesn't look like a 1. Not a huge deal though either way, as long as you know it's an L when you write out the formula. Now all we need to do is plug in the length and width and then multiply. I'm going to use the longer side for the length, so 6 meters, and then 3 meters for the width. So area equals 6 meters times 3 meters. And now we can multiply. 6 times 3 gives us an area of 18 square meters. We measure area in square units, so this is square meters. Before we move on to number 2, let's take a look at why we do length times width and look at a visual of area. We have 6 meters by 3 meters, so let's draw these out, starting with 6 meters. So I'm going to mark each meter here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have 6 meters there. And now we can do the width. So 3 meters. 1, to show the height. So don't let it confuse you. Now we can calculate.
Where am I saying what I said? Alright. You keep videoing, right?
Yeah.
P gives us an area of 18 square meters. We measure area in square units, so this is square meters. Before we move on to number 2, let's take a look at why we do length times width and look at a visual of area. We have 6 meters by 3 meters, so let's draw these out, starting with 6 meters. So I'm going to mark each meter here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have 6 meters there. And now we can do the width. So 3 meters. 1, 2, and 3. You'll notice that we have squares now. These are square units. And specifically for number 1, those are square meters. That just means that each square is 1 meter by 1 meter. And this is a square meter. When we find area, we find how many square units something covers. So for number 1, how many square meters does this rectangle cover? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, which is exactly the same thing we got by doing length times width. So by drawing all of that out, this helps us visualize area and square units, but it's much quicker just to do length times width. Let's move on to number 2, and for this one, we're just going to use the formula. So area equals length times width. So let's plug in the length. We're going to use 19 feet. So 19 feet times the width of 5 feet. So again, I use the longer side for the length. Now for number 2, it's a little different than number 1 because all 4 side lengths are written out. That doesn't mean we need all 4 side lengths. We still just need the length and width. We're not multiplying everything that's written out or given. So something to keep in mind. Now we can multiply. So 19 times 5 gives us an area of 95 square feet. So there's how to find the area of a rectangle. Let's move on to finding the area of a square. Now we're going to take a look at how to find the area of a square. Let's jump into our examples, starting with number 1, where we need to find the area of that square. Now for squares, we can find the area by squaring a side length. So we can use the formula, area equals a side length squared. And for this square, each side is 8 inches. So let's plug in 8 inches here for our side length. So 8 squared. 8 squared means 8 times 8, which gives us an area of 64 square inches. Let's move on to number 2, where we have a square with sides that are 11 meters. And you'll notice that we only have one side labeled. That's because this is a square, and we know all of the sides are going to be the same. They're all going to be 11 meters. The tick marks on each side of this square show us that they are all the same. We have one tick mark on each side, and that indicates that, again, all of the sides are the same. Then we have the 90-degree angles marked as well. I wanted to include these symbols in case you come across them. That way, you'll know what they mean. As far as area, let's use the formula, area equals a side length squared, and each side is 11 meters, so let's plug in 11 meters for the side length. So 11 squared, that means 11 times 11. That gives us an area of 121 square meters. So there's how to find the area of a square. Let's move on to finding the area of a triangle. Now let's take a look at finding the area of a triangle. We can either use the formula base times height divided by 2, or 1/2 times base times height. Dividing by 2 and multiplying by 1/2 are the same thing. They're going to give us the same result. So either formula will work and give us the correct area. Think about it. If we want to take half of something, we can either divide by 2 or multiply by 1/2. We will talk about why taking half of something relates to the area of a triangle in a little bit. Now for this video, I'm going to use the formula base times height divided by 2. But again, either formula will work and they both mean the same thing. We are taking half of the base times the height. Let's jump into number 1 where we have a triangle with a base of 8 feet and a corresponding height of 6 feet. We do not need this 10 feet right here in order to calculate the area. We have area equals base times height divided by 2. Let's plug in the base and the height. The base is 8 feet, so we have 8 feet times the corresponding height of 6 feet, so 8 times 6 divided by 2. Now we can work through this. 8 times 6 gives us 48, and we have 48 divided by 2 here. 48 divided by 2 gives us an area of 24 square feet. So our final area for this triangle, again, 24 square feet. Now as far as why we take half of the base times height, either by dividing by 2 or multiplying by 1/2, let's take a look right here. Now we have the same triangle, base of 8 feet, height of 6 feet. But the triangle is double, so we have 2 of them. And we can fit them together to create a rectangle. So we have 1 triangle, 2 triangles. And since they are right triangles, they can fit together to create a rectangle. Now, if we aren't working with a right triangle, the triangles can still fit together to create a parallelogram. So this will still apply. We can use the formula base times height to find the area of a parallelogram. And if we are working with a rectangle, we may also hear length times width. So for the area of this parallelogram, specifically a rectangle, we have base times height. Let's write it over here. We have area equals base times height. Area equals, well, the base, we have 8 feet, times the height of 6 feet. 8 times 6 gives us an area of 48 square feet. And that's the area of the rectangle. Now we can see that the triangle is exactly half of the rectangle. So we can take half of the area of the rectangle to get the area of the triangle. So that's why we take half, either by dividing by 2 or multiplying by 1/2. Let's move on to number 2, where we have a triangle with a base of 9 meters and a corresponding height of 4 meters. So let's write our formula here. So area equals base times height divided by 2. Now we can plug in. The base is 9 meters times the height of 4 meters divided by 2. 9 times 4 gives us 36. So we end up with 36 divided by 2, which gives us an area of 18 square meters. Now just to show again why we take half, I'm going to double this triangle. So let's make a copy of this triangle to create a parallelogram. So we have the copy of the triangle right here. It's not the best, but we have a parallelogram right here. So we have the base of 9 times the height of 4. That gives us an area of 36 square meters for that parallelogram. And then we take half to find the area of the triangle. Let's move on to number 3, where we have a triangle with a base of 5 yards and a corresponding height of 11 yards. Now this one looks a little confusing as far as how it's drawn out, but we are finding the area of this triangle right here. The dashed parts off to the side are to show the base being extended out. So we have the base right here, and then this part extends out, and we have the height going up from that extension. So the dashed parts are to show the height. So don't let it confuse you. Now we can calculate the area of this triangle. So we have area equals base times height divided by 2. Let's plug in the base and the height. So the base is 5 yards times the height of 11 yards divided by 2. Let's work through this now. 5 times 11 is 55 divided by 2. That gives us an area of 27.5, or 27.5. And this is square yards. So final area, 27.5 square yards. Let's make a copy of this triangle as well to show the parallelogram that we took half of. So this is the copy of the triangle, and our parallelogram is right here. This parallelogram has a base of 5 yards and a height of 11 yards. 5 times 11 gives us 55. So that parallelogram has an area of 55 square yards. We took half of that in order to find the area of the triangle. So there's how to find the area of a triangle. Let's move on to finding the area of a circle. Now let's take a look at finding the area of a circle. Now the formula we use for the area of a circle is area equals pi r squared. So pi times the radius squared. So we do need to be familiar with both diameter and radius when we work with circles. Diameter is the distance all the way across a circle. So it's a line segment that connects 2 points on the circle, and it has to go through the center. And then the radius is half the diameter. So it goes from the center to any point on the circle. And then lastly, before we get into our example, is pi, which is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Pi is a constant, so it's the same for all circles. Now pi is irrational. It goes on forever. So we are going to use an approximate or rounded version of pi, 3.14. With that being said, let's jump into our example where we have a circle with a radius of 9 centimeters. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is write out the formula for the area of a circle. So area equals pi r squared. Then I'm going to plug in the radius. So area equals pi times the radius, which is 9 centimeters, squared. After that, let's do 9 squared, which means 9 times 9, not 9 times 2. That's a common mistake. So remember, 9 squared, when you square a number, that means multiply that number by itself. So 9 squared means 9 times 9, which is 81. So we end up with pi times 81. Now we can rewrite this as area equals 81 pi. One way to write the area of a circle is to write it in terms of pi, meaning we can write our number in front of the pi symbol and put our unit of measure, which is centimeters. And when working with area, it's going to be square units. So we have area equals 81 pi square centimeters. So again, one way to write our answer is in terms of pi. So we have our number and then our pi symbol followed by the unit of measure squared. Now another way we can do this is to use an approximate version of pi. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to use 3.14. So pi is approximately 3.14. So that squiggly equal sign there, that means an approximate value, unlike an equal sign, which means an exact value. So something to keep in mind when you see that. So let's go through our process here, and we're going to start by writing out our formula. So area equals pi r squared. Next, let's plug everything in. So we have area is approximately, and I'm using the approximately symbol since we are using an approximate version of pi. So 3.14 that we're using for pi times our radius of 9 centimeters squared. So 9 squared is going to give us, well, we have 3.14 and 9 squared equals 81. So we end up with 3.14 times 81. And that's going to give us an approximate area of 254 and 34 hundredths square centimeters. And again, that's an approximate area because we used an approximate version of pi. So that gave us an approximate area there in decimal form in comparison to this area over here, which we wrote in terms of pi. So there's how we calculate the area of a circle given the radius. Let's move on to finding the area given the diameter. For this example, we have a circle with a given diameter of 12 feet. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is write out the formula for the area of a circle. So area equals pi r squared. Next, we can plug in our radius. So area equals pi times. Now we are given the diameter, so we need to divide that diameter by 2 to get the radius, because remember, the radius is half of the diameter. 12 divided by 2 gives us a radius of 6 feet. Let's plug that in, and that's going to give us 6 squared. Now 6 squared, that means 6 times 6, not 6 times 2. When we square a number, we multiply that number by itself. So let's do 6 squared, which gives us 6 times 6, which equals 36. So we end up with pi times 36. Now remember, just like in our first example, one way to write our area is to write it in terms of pi. And again, that means we can write our number in front of the pi symbol and then put our unit of measure. So we can put 36 pi, and this is square feet for our unit of measure. So that's one way we can write out our area of that circle. Another option, we can use an approximate rounded version of pi. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to use 3.14. So we can use this to get an approximate area of this circle in decimal form. So again, we're going to use pi is approximately 3.14. Let's write out our formula, which is area equals pi r squared, and then we can plug in. So area is approximately, I'm going to use the approximate symbol there, because again, we're using an approximate version of pi, so we are going to get an approximate area. Let's plug in 3.14, and then multiply by our radius, which is 6 squared. And now we can calculate here. Let's do 6 squared. So 3.14 times 6 squared, which equals 36. And now let's multiply. So 3.14 times 36 gives us an approximate area of 113 and 400. And this is square feet. So that is an approximate area of that circle. So there you have it. There's how to find the area of rectangles, squares, triangles, and circles. I hope that helped. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, peace.
Students, I hope you have learned as much as possible from the video. So now I have a fun and quick activity for you guys. Here we have cutout of 4 different types of shape. You have circle, square, rectangle, and triangle. And also, we have the formulas for each shape, right? So you have 4 shapes, 4 formulas. So what you have to do is to match the formula to the shape, to the correctly, right? And which group correctly matches the shape to the formula will win a prize, which is a geometry set, right? So let's begin. So we have for you guys. So begin. Come on, work together as a group. Let's see who first gonna finish to get this prize. Everybody get the truth? Which group are finished?
Done.
Good. So we have the third group is finished first. Good.
Finish. Second.
So let's see if you guys are gonna win this prize. Let's see. Let's see if you match it correctly. Good. So the formula for square is length times length. That's correct. The formula to find the area of a rectangle is length times width, which is correct. And to find the area for a circle is pi r squared, and the triangle is half base times height. So you guys have won yourself for geometry set. Good. You have this one in a second, right? Finish second. Good. Let's see. So the correct. Correct. So you guys want to drop your set? Good job, man. Good. Let's do the first one. Very good. That's correct. So, yeah, all of you have correctly matched the picture to the formula, which is well done, alright? You guys did a good job. So let's move on to the last and but not least video.
Of 2 or more shapes. To find the area, decompose the figure into shapes with areas that you know, and then add. For our first shape, we have a rectangle and a triangle. It is important that you know the formulas for each of these. For a rectangle, we do length times width. The length is 9 and the width is 7. So the area of our rectangle is 63 square meters. The formula for a triangle is area equals 1/2 base times height. 1/2, the base is 9 and the height is 6. Knowing that we get the base from this line up top. So then we simply multiply 9 times 6, which is 54, and we take half of that, which is going to give us 28 square meters. We then take our 2 areas of our shapes and add them together. 63 plus 28 is going to give me 91 meters squared total for our area of that composite figure. For our next shape, we have a semicircle and a rectangle. So again, the rectangle is going to be area equals length times width, where our length is 4 and our width is 2. So the area of the rectangle is 8 square yards. All right, the formula of a circle is area equals pi r squared. But since we have a semicircle, we have to divide that by 2. So, pi is always 3.14. Our radius, remember, radius only goes
halfway through the circle, which means our radius is 2 because it's half of 4. And then we want to square that number. At the end, we will divide by 2. So 2 squared is 4. Next, I want to multiply 3.14 times 4, which gives me 12.56. And finally, I want to divide that by 2 to get a final answer for our semicircle as 6.28 square yards. Again, we have to add those two numbers together. So I'm going to take 6.28 plus 8, and that will give me 14.28 square yards for our entire composite figure. Lastly, we have a square and a semicircle. So we have two semicircles. If I look at these semicircles and took away the square in the middle, it would make a full circle. So we don't need to divide by 2 on this one. So first, with our square, area equals length times width, which would be 10 times 10 to give me 100 millimeters squared. Then I need to do the circle. Again, we have two semicircles that are the exact same, so we just need to do this once, and we don't need to divide by 2. So 3.14, again, the radius is only half of that distance, so that's going to be 5 squared for our radius. Then we do 5 squared, which is 25, and then 3.14 times 25 would give me 78.5 millimeters squared. And finally, we add those together to get a total answer of 178.5 millimeters squared for our total area. To review, it's important that you know that a composite figure is made up of 2 or more shapes. To find that area, you decompose the figure into shapes with areas that you already know and then add. It's important that you know the formula for each of the shapes before beginning.
How do you round?
Good. So students, I hope you have grasped as much as possible from the video. So now we have another activity, which is a worksheet. Right? So you're going to remain yourself in the same group, and I'm going to hand out the worksheet, and you're going to work it together as a group. Right? And afterwards, you're going to come in front, and you're going to work it. Right? Just take your time. Go through together as a group, discuss, and you can work it, right? So we have the first question from the worksheet on the board. It's a composite shape and it's made up of 2 shapes. So group 1 work out the first part, so they bisect it, and they have a rectangle, and the area is length times breadth. The length is 5 cm times 1 cm is the breadth, give you 5 cm square. Excellent job, group 1. Group 2, great job. So the other shape they found was a triangle. The formula is base times height divided by 2. The base is 2 cm times 1 cm divided by 2, give you 2 cm over 2. 2 divided by 2 give you 1 cm square. So the area of this triangle is 1 cm square. Amazing job. Well done, group 2. So the area of this triangle is 1 cm square. So we have group 3 now. Remember, we're finding the area of the composite shape. So how do we find that? Is by adding the rectangle and triangle together.
The rectangle is 5 cm square plus 1 cm square give you 6 cm square. Excellent job, group 3. So you guys have done well. Excellent job for each and every group. So students, what have you learned from this lesson today?
Yes, Tahir?
Yes, I learned how to calculate the area of a rectangle and triangle.
Very good. Give him a clap. Anything else? Dontrell?
And how to calculate the area of each circle and
Very good. Give him a clap. Anything else you guys have learned?
Miss, from what I've learned from today's lesson, to calculate the area of a composite shape, you must find what are the shapes of the
Yes.
composite shape. You find the area, then you add it together total.
Very good. Is that correct? Yes. So it seems that you have learned a lot from today's lesson, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the lesson. And